So after the first two games, I made some changes towards the slides for our man-to-man defense. Um, I think it would be a good idea for us to be more diligent and purposeful towards this side of the ball. So I kind of detail what I wanted to see and what we should kind of aim towards. Um, but again, to start off, um, defense is obviously going to be hard, and ideally, defense should be harder than offense. You know, because that's the defense is the less enjoyable side of the ball, but it shouldn't be looked at something that we should not put as much effort as, or not put as much, I guess, of a plan towards compared to offense. Um, but anyways, the aim for all our defensive positions is no middle penetration. Attacks down the middle and vice versa regarding our offense. How I want us to only kind of drive towards the middle. Attacks towards the middle is how defenses collapse, and we should always focus on preventing this. Um, and I want us to be a little bit. Well, actually not a little bit. I want us to be more proactive towards how we play defense. I want us to guide the offender or offensive player to where we want them to go, and this should always be towards the baseline, towards the side, nothing towards the middle. Um, like I highlighted in this picture. You see this guy here is kind of positioning his body to kind of force the ball handler to go towards the baseline, go towards where most of the help is, and these guys are here kind of tricking that floor, and be prepared for if the ball does go in the paint. But yeah, obviously there'll be times where the on-ball defender might get beat and lose a man. We have to be prepared to rotate and switch and help um, when that does happen. I think this kind of yeah. So and here you see this guy is closing out, but the way he's closing out is kind of forcing um, the dribbler to kind of go towards baseline, and then this is kind of when the double happens. But yeah, communication is key, and obviously as much as possible, we want to force him towards the non-dominant hand, presume the left, but the main goal, the aim is no middle penetration. And obviously the main way outside of ISO that other team will look towards getting good looks and attacking the middle was going to be through ball screens. Now for ball screens, this is kind of the most important part. We're going to have three distinct coverages for on-ball screens. So the first one is basically fight, and this is basically going over the screen. And for these kind of coverages, callouts, the main responsibility is always going to be on the screener's defender. So in this case, the screener's defender is him. This guy is the one I said on the screen, so he's the screener's defender. In here, the fighting over this ball handler's defender is fighting over the screen. But the key thing to notice here is the screener's defender is kind of hedging, so he's blocking that lane and delaying the drive up until the ball handler defender gets back in front. So that's key. As a screener's defender, get ready to hedge and delay the drive. But remember, it's not a full switch, so he's not switching. Expect to go back to your man after the ball handler's defender is back in front, which he does. So here he goes back to his man and boxes out. But yeah, if we're fighting and going over the screen, the key thing is the screener's defender has to be ready to hedge and delay that drive. Because when fighting over the screen, we're kind of the main goal when you're going over the screen is to kind of stop that pull up three, and the pull up jumper, and so to balance that out and stop the drive, that's when the screener's defender has to be there to help, and hedge and delay the drive. I think this is what kind of goes over it better. So he's going over, guy's hedging, stopping the drive, and then when this guy's back in front of his man, he go back in front of his man. So that's one coverage, fight. So the guy can say fight left, fight right. It basically means instead of saying screen left, screen right, saying fight left, fight right basically allows the ball handler's defender to know what he's doing. Okay, so he's saying fight. Okay, so he wants me to fight over the screen. And again, the main responsibility is on the ball it's on the screener's defender, which is in case this guy, because he's a screener's defender. His guy's setting the screen, so he's a screener's defender. Um, this is where most of the communication should be coming from. Um, Second coverage that we have towards screen is ice, which I think this video was already shown towards the first kind of defensive video I made. But I'll go over it again.
Hey, Shake, ice the screen, ice it. Come on. Hey, good. I got you. Get back. Perfect. Hey, good stop, man. Great ice.
Ice? What is ice? Why do you keep saying that?
Well, it's a defensive coverage. We don't want you to go middle, right? You're taught to attack that middle, to penetrate, to finish, to find your rollers, to kick out. But we don't want you. And you have nowhere to go you out to the side.
So yeah, if you want to deny them using the screen altogether and force them to not use the screen, then ice is the second type. Well, it's like ice is the coverage that you want to call upon. We don't. It's actually no. You don't avoid calling this coverage top of the key, because the whole point of ice. I mean, you could say ice left, ice right, all that stuff, but the less words the better, obviously. And so if they're calling a screen on the wing, which is happening right here, this is ideal of using ice, because if they're calling a screen, they're most likely going to call a screen for them to go back towards the middle and go and attempt to drive. If they're calling a screen to go left baseline, that's fine. Fight or drop or go under, whatever, that's fine. But most of the time, they're obviously going to set a screen. If they're in the middle, they're going to set a screen going towards the middle. So if they're at the wing, they're at the wing, they're going to set a screen going towards the middle. So when that happens, it's a good opportunity to use ice. Yeah, so you kind of want to avoid calling them towards the top of the key, but we could. But it's a lot more easier for us to call ice towards when the screen is coming in the wing. And the key thing about ice is it's not a full switch. So you see here the ball handler's defender is getting up tight on the screen and kind of denying them to even use the screen. So that's a key thing about ice, is that it forces them to not use the screen at all, and most importantly, it forces them baseline. And again, it's gonna require hedging from the screener's defender. Just be prepared in case that ball gets kicked out to the 3 or whatever. In this case, the screener didn't really pop up. He kind of rolled with him. But again, it's not a full switch. It's just making sure that they don't use the screen and they're going baseline. And it's kind of probably the most aggressive ball screen coverage that we'll have. Again, these videos you can watch on your own time. They go into way more detail than what I am. And the third and last distinct way that we can defend the screen is switching. And if we're not concerned with the matchup, not concerned with the mismatch, then switch it. After a switch happens, pretty self-explanatory. But after a switch is called, if the time is right and opportunity presents itself, then we can switch off ball to get a more favorable defensive matchup. So in here, Clay and I think it's Draymond, maybe Clay and Draymond switch, but then Clay tells JaVale McGee to switch with him, because obviously Clay gets a big on him, so he doesn't want to defend him. So yeah, so off ball after the on ball screen happens, whatever, we can obviously switch back and get better matchups. But again, communication is key. It's everything starts with communication on defense. That's most of the time, defense is relied on communication and effort as opposed to offense. I think this example kind of shows a kind of fluid switch. Yeah. Like I said before, the main responsibility of calling on any of these 3 coverages, fight, ice, or switch, is on the person whose man is setting the screen is defender. They are the one that sees the screen coming, so it's on them to communicate. If none of these three ball screen coverages are called, if fight, ice, or switch is called, then automatically assume under. The ball handler, the defender should automatically go under to prevent the drive. Going under being our, I guess, I don't want to say default because it's not really our default. It's kind of just what we're using if none of the three coverages are called. It being our default quote unquote coverage outside of the 3 ones just listed, makes it so if communication is not there, then at worst case we can see the 3 or the long 2. And the last thing you want to do is to just not, after the screen, is just stand there and not do anything. So if nothing's being called on the screen, as the ball handler defender, just go under. If we can see that a long 2 or 3, or even if the ball handler is like kind of going left or right next to the screen and kind of causing you to get stuck, then the responsibility is on the man who is setting the screen's defender. So if we get cooked on the ball screen and nothing's being said, then we know who to blame. The guy wasn't talking. It's better to do something than nothing, because when defending these screens, it takes 2 people, not just one. And right here, as a screener's defender, if you see the ball handler going under, make sure to at least jam the screener. So in this video, what I mean by jamming is, so in this video, obviously, the ball handler's defender is going under, but the screener's defender, this guy, is jamming his guy so he can't roll. So if you see the ball handler defender going under, then at least jam your guy. You don't want to drop and do drop. I guess they call it drop coverage. That's the worst thing you kind of want to do. If like the video says, if you see the ball handler going under, we don't want them to be able to pass him out, pass the screener off a roll. So at least jam your guy, or be physical. Again, we want to dictate towards, we want to guide them and be proactive with how we play defense. And then off-ball screens, outside of on-ball screens, they also might use off-ball screens. Since these screens kind of require the ball to travel, we want to kind of fight these screens as much as possible. But again, the priority should be not giving them an open lane to the paint. And if they're a good shooter, then we can kind of adjust towards that. Again, fighting over screen, it may involve hedging, and if they are able to get good looks towards the paint off all screens, then it may even involve switching. But again, as always, the defender whose man is setting the screen is the one most responsible for communicating. And I got a video here for box outs and just getting better rebounds. Let me actually play a little bit.
There's a characteristic that is consistent with every great defensive team, and it's boxing out. All 4 guys.
So yeah, you see here, and I said it multiple times, when that ball goes up, there's no reason for us to watch the ball. The shot went up, all of these guys are looking towards the nearest person and boxing out.
Committing to looking at their guy, going and blocking them out, while the on-ball defender gives a great effort contesting the jump shot.
Yeah. Again, the key to getting more rebounds, good chunk of it is obviously being taller than your opposition, but rebounds really come down to good positioning and anticipation. And the last thing you want to do is ball watch, because that can really compound the rebounding troubles that we have. But again, we're an undersized team. Obviously, it makes sense. Not the most stamina-driven team, but we have to be more intentional in how we rebound and in general, how we play defense.